Hey guys, so in this video here, I'm going to do a little bit of a sort of a photo manipulation here, and I don't really exactly have like a concrete plan for this here, but I thought it would be fun to do uh, to take one of these sort of these old sea monsters here and just see what we can make. I mean, I think it's always sort of interesting to look at these pictures and just sort of like imagine what these things would look like in real life. These are kind of what people thought of back at the time. Excuse me. Um, these are kind of what people thought back at the time of sea monsters and so on. And so I don't know where to find a sea monster, but I do know where to find fish and things like that. And there's some free websites out there called, for example, pexels.com, and you can do a search here for fish. Maybe you can get more creative and you can search for different things. I actually have a collection of things that I downloaded a while back here that have just a ton of sort of just random lizards, and this was for something I was doing with dragons, and I'm just sort of uh, combining different creatures together to get a dragon. You guys could do similar things, like depending on what you're doing, of course. It all depends, and you don't have to get terribly detailed for this. I just thought it would be fun to do something more or less realistic, but the task is kind of open. It's more or less a sort of a photo manipulation here. So first things first, I think what I want to do is I want to have it sort of a monster sort of attacking this ship here. So I want to have it sort of crawling out of the sea here. So to do that here, I'm going to have to extend this photograph here. Let's make a copy of this first, and I'm going to press C for crop. And rather than cropping it down, I'm going to extend it out like this, and that should give me enough room to do this here, to give it a sea monster, right? Let's do that. I don't really like this background here, so let's just get rid of that. Let's keep this, okay? Let's keep this, and I'm going to have to make a sky. So I'm going to make a new layer, and let's show you this tool here. Right there where you have the paint bucket, you also have the gradient, and the gradient works this way. By default, you can select two colors, and I think that's a good setting to have. So what you can do here is, if I can take this color here, I'm going to point it at a dark blue like so, and over here I'll point it at a lighter blue like so here, and I can just pull from the top to the bottom, and we can get something like that. All it is just a gradient. I'm going to drag this um, below that, and that's a little bit more like it. We can play around with the values here just to see what we get. Truth is, it's not going to be perfect, but you can try. Maybe a trick for this, what I could do is I can press Command or Control M to get the curves, right? Like we talked about in one of the previous videos, and you can play around with the settings here to get something more or less like you like here. And that should, like I said, it's not going to be perfect, but you're going to get it's going to give you a start here. Now for this, now I need to extend the C. How do we do that? I don't exactly know, but my best guess is that it would be something along the lines of this. So I'm going to take a patch of this. I always think it's going to be better to work with patches than anything else here. So if I take a patch of this, I can press Command or Control C, and then Control V, and we can just bring it out like this. You see, this is so much faster here if I do this. Um, I notice I'm getting these sharp edges here, and what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to press E for eraser, right? And along the edges here, I'm going to just try to bring this out, to brush this out here and erase some of this stuff. Always keeping in mind some of the darkness that I'm seeing here. I want all that stuff to connect up together. Another thing too, with this, with the eraser, you can choose different kinds of brushes here. Usually it's set to the soft round. You might want to make sure that it is that. And the reason I like the soft round is it has sort of a fall off, or it sort of fades out around the edges, and this is especially helpful when you want to get rid of some of the of these sharp edges like you're seeing here, you see? So something like that is already working pretty well. Yeah, it's working pretty well. Let's make another copy of this, and to do this, I'm going to press Alt, right, with my Move tool. See, I have my Move tool pressed, and you can get to there by pressing V for, well, for the V in Move. How about that? So you can press V and then just click on the piece or the layer that you want to work with. Hold down Alt and you'll see when you hold down Alt, your cursor becomes sort of a double arrow. And now if you click and move, it will make sort of a copy of that here, and you can do something more or less like that. I'm going to just make some copies here, and let's just merge all these together here. Shall I merge? You know what? Yeah, why not? We'll just merge all this stuff together, and with this, I'm going to use that trick that I talked about earlier with the Band-Aid tool, and you can just run over some of that stuff here, and it sort of averages some of that stuff out here. You got to be careful though, there's some repetitions, and I always want to get rid of the repetitions here so that we can't tell where stuff is. So for example, in here, let me see what I can do with that. Just see if I can run out. Yeah, it's not too good. So I think what I would rather do with this is just take some pieces here and just sort of mess it up a little bit. So I'm going to copy, paste, maybe over here, and we can do something to change maybe the, yeah, there you go, see? Change the curves, and it darkens that up, and then we can just finally, let's go back with the eraser. And like I said, I'm just making this up as I go along here, so, you know, it takes some practice, and then you know, it also, I really want to emphasize this, it takes some experimentation and having fun. You know, you're only going to learn if you just play around with stuff and try things out, and get it wrong 1,000 times before you get something you like. You know, so really, you know, and I'm trying to explain this here. This probably isn't what I would do. Maybe not all the choices and stuff, but more or less, like, you know, it gives me a head start. Let's take this, and I'm going to fix this little patch up with, let's see what we can get out of this here. So if I, oh, that's horrible. Yeah, see? So, okay, so I think I really am going to do a patch here. Let's get rid of that little white right here. So I'm going to just make a copy of this, Control C, Control V, scoot that over here, like that. You see, that's effective. And then I can just do some more of that right over there. And I just want to get rid of all the repetitions that I can possibly get rid of here, like so. What else? Okay, so here, yeah, this is interesting here. So now with the sky, I think, what can we do here with the sky? So with the sky, we can go about this in different ways here. I mentioned in the last video here, I mentioned masks. I like the idea of masks because it's non-destructive, and especially with something like this, I don't know if I'm going to need that. So if I want to erase, I would rather erase with the mask. So to make a mask on this, I'm just simply going to press this button to apply one, and you can see everything is visible here. It's all, you know, what you see is what you get here. I'm going to switch the color. Instead of white, I'm going to switch it to black, and you can see the color is all white, so that means we're seeing everything this image has to offer, right? Now, let's do this. I'm going to take my gradient, and with the gradient, let's open up the basics, and instead of going from black to white, it's just going to from black to transparent, or in other words, foreground to transparent. You know, it's always foreground to transparent. Let's go this way. With the gradient, I'm going to apply this on the mask. I'm going to apply this way, and you see how it starts to fade out. Oh, I see. That didn't do the effect I wanted it to. Oh, of course it didn't. Okay, I see what's going on. I think I do. Oh, okay, yeah, that works. You see, okay, cool. Yeah, that works. That works okay. Yeah, there you go. So more or less, that's kind of the idea. And then maybe we can. I kind of overdid it here, so let's paint it back in by pressing B for brush. I'm going to make this a little bigger with my soft round brush, and I'm going to press the little bracket keys like that. That makes my brush bigger, and I'm going to start painting. This time I'm going to switch the color because I'm painting back in. I'm going to paint it in white, and I'm just going to run over this part there and just sort of build it back in. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, that kind of works okay. I might need to do some fixes here. We'll worry about that later. One trick that I think I've talked about in another video I've recorded for this class, but I'll go ahead and talk about it just now anyway. We could, of course, just like anything else, you could just make a copy of clouds and offset it. So Command C, Control C, Control V. Let's flip this one around here by pressing Control T, and I'm going to flip it horizontally. One thing about being careful here, we haven't really talked about this yet, but one thing to be careful about when you flip things around is you want to be careful with the direction of the lighting and perspective, of course, and all that stuff. But we haven't talked about that yet. But things are going to look funny if, for example, your sunlight is coming from this direction, and all of a sudden you have something else that's receiving light that's coming from this side here. So, same thing with the clouds. Just because they're up in the sky, I mean, they still react to light, and so depending on how you have this here, sometimes you can get away with it because it's sort of abstract and stuff, but, I would rather have things a little bit more predictable here. So let me just see if I can fix this up with my eraser, and I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff. Yeah, it does a little bit of the work for me here. And whenever possible here, I want to have it, whenever possible, I want to have it, I want to have it sort of different. Things like this, I don't want it to be symmetrical. That's why I was going over all those little pieces here to try to get rid of the repetitions. So you can do that. And, basically with something like this, if I make like some generic pieces, what I can probably do here is, let's flip this around here. Maybe something like that. I'm starting to get a little bit more variety in here. It's not going to look great, but if I keep at it, then I'll get something I like a little more. Another trick that you can do, it doesn't have to be from this picture too. You could totally go back to Pexels and Pexels, or another one I use is Morgue File. So for example, clouds. You can't find clouds really? There you go. Well, we can find cats. Anyway, so you can search around here for the images you want to use, and Morgue File, Pexels are great ones. If I think of some more, I'll post them up on Canvas. In here, here's another trick that I like to use with doing these paintings here. Paintings or photo manipulations, whatever you want to call them. Sometimes I like to make my own clouds, and the way I do that is by just making sort of a general sort of a little thing that's like that, right? And with this tool here, I have some kind of like lighting tools, and I guess if you watch the little illustration here, it kind of shows you what it does. Burn tool, this comes from a concept of like traditional photography, where you're exposing the paper to more light, and that's why they call it burning. Whereas like the opposite of it is dodging, and that's like when you're burning the picture from the projector onto the paper, you're sort of blocking the light, and that's why they call it dodging. And so you see the dog in the picture is getting whiter as you dodge it here. So going back to our cloud here, the way we can apply that is, you notice here when I painted, I didn't go with a complete white. I went with something more in the middle here for a purpose. In fact, let's darken it up even a little more. I'm going to press Control U, and let's darken it up just a little bit more so it's more in the middle grays. That should be good right there. And because this is a sunny day, then it's going to receive lots of light, and that light is coming from this area here. So I'm going to take my dodge tool, and let's dodge it here at the top, like so. And then here I'm going to go back to Burn tool and just do that sort of thing at the bottom here, like so. Here's another trick. I have not shown you guys this yet, but this has sort of a all these clouds. They kind of have a blue tint to it, And my cloud that I'm working on here is kind of grayscale, so I can go back to my hue and saturation here. This time I'm going to press this little checkbox here that says colorize, and here I can give it this little sort of tint of color, and I'm going to point it more or less at the blue and then just really reduce the saturation. I don't care too much about the lightness, but I guess you could do that as well. And now I have this little piece of cloud, and what I'm going to do with this is just really just turn it down a little bit here, because the whole point of clouds is they only work if you stack them up here like so. And maybe to give this a little variety, you can always work with the curves here. It's really great to get, you know, some variety here, and I'm just going to play around with this here. But after you got something going, this is especially useful in like digital paintings. I think just to get the job done, to be honest, I think I would probably use something more like that. Just comparing mine to the pictures here, this is good for getting away with small details, but it's kind of a pain when you have to do a lot of them here. You know, it's just tedious, you know. And, I mean, you probably could pull something off like that, but here's the point: if like they're transparent enough, you can actually blend these. Like if you have a background, it's going to be especially helpful because you can have this interacting with the background. So I'm just going to keep it at this for now. Let's select all those layers, and I'm going to merge them together, right? So if I've selected, let me just do this here, just so you know. So I'm selecting this first layer. I'm holding down Shift and selecting all the layers I want. And over here under Layer, I'm going to go to Merge Layers. When you merge layers together, it goes from like several to one. So now you can see, is that right? No, this is, wait a minute. Oh, here we are. My apologies. So all those layers that I had here, the layer 3s, and then there's this little piece here, I guess, it's missing. Let's go ahead and merge that together. So I'm going to take this and press Control E. Let's call this Custom Cloud. And that's all one piece now, so I don't have to worry about all those little pieces here. So, you know, you can merge those things together by compressing the layers here. So I think this video is getting sort of a little bit long. I'm just going to wrap up this photo extension here, and we'll continue with the manipulation in the next part here. Just a final note, I think what I would probably do in the next part here, I'll see if I can fix this, but I'll merge this together and then maybe run over it with a Band-Aid tool, the healing brush, and just see if we can just patch it up so it looks like it's more connected.